ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोप्येश गोपिता गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पांचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। शुश्रूषो श्रद्धानस्य वासुदेव कथारुचि स्यान्महत्सेवया विप्रा पुण्यतीर्थनिषेवनात् शृण्वता स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तना हृद्यन्तस्तौ भद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तदा रजस्तमो भावः कामलोभादयश्च चेतयते गणावृद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति। एवं प्रसन्न मनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते। विद्यते हृदय ग्रन्थिश्चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयः क्षीयन्ते च कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So we are reading from second. Okay, so we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 10, verses 37 to 40. Okay. प्रजापतिन् मनुं देवान् ऋषीन् पितृगणान् पृथक् सिद्धचारण गन्धर्वान् विद्याद्रासुर गुह्यकाम् किन्नरा सरसो नागान् सर्पान् किं पुरुषान् नरान् मातृरक्ष पिशाचांश्च प्रेतभूत विनायकान् कुष्माण्डोन्माद वेतालान् यातुधानान् ग्रहान् अपि खगान् मृगान् पशून् वृक्षान् गिरीन् नृपसरीसृपान् विविधश्चतुर्विधा येन्ये जनस्थल नभौकशः कुशला मिश्रा कर्मणां गतयस्विमाम्. Translation: O King, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaivasvata Manu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra and Varuna, the great sages like Bhrigu, Vyasa and Vasishta, the inhabitants of Pitraloka and Siddhaloka, The Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and angels. The serpentines, the monkey-shaped Kimpurushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matraloka, the demons, Pishachas, ghosts, spirit, lunatics, and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, from the seed, and all others, whether they be in the water, land, or sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress. All of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. What a comprehensive list. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this. The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this list, and with no exception, from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in different species of life are created by the Almighty Father Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living entities as his offsprings in the following verse. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasham brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. The material nature is compared to the mother. Although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body, it's still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead. And only to the man with a poor fund of knowledge, they appear to be born of material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living entities, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord. The material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities, superior nature. The superior nature and inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions of life, whereas others are in distressed conditions of life. But factually, none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third-class prison life to first-class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. One may be promoted to the first-class prisoner, but the same first-class prisoner is again degraded to a third-class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is the real goal of all types of living entities. Okay, so here this purport is very interesting. The verse itself, the list of all the possible living entities, right? Everyone is covered here in this list. In different categories, they are covered in this list. The categories of human beings, the categories of, even demigods, the categories of celestial beings, the categories of evil versus good, and the categories of different bodies, like meaning different species. They take, birth in, and then the categories of how they are conceived, born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, from seeds, and from, So, and then the inhabitation, whether they be in water, land, or sky, or they're mental makeup, not exactly mental makeup, the feelings that they go through, they are, whether they've been happiness distress or mixed happiness distress, everybody is here according to their past deeds, and the system is created by the Lord. So the living entities are from the Lord, and the system is also from the Lord. So when we read this, in the purport, Prabhupada first establishes how everyone is originating from the Lord, because somehow some part of the world or some people may think that only good things come from God, and all the people who are not behaving good, they are not God's children, they are something, something like that, they are from evil source or something like that. But actually not. Everybody is children of God. So then Prabhupada quotes the famous verse that Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita, sarva yonishu kaunteya, aham bija pradapita. So everybody, sarva yonishu, that's that word, yoni means the womb of the mother. So sarva yonishu, the whole entire, possibility of any mother who conceives in any species of life, right? And then it's all, everybody who's taking birth from a womb, also they belong to Krishna. We belong to Krishna. So therefore, when we, this mood to understand that everybody belongs to Krishna, no matter how a person is behaving or not behaving, this kind of gives a little bit of missionary spirit in one sense. Because Prabhupada, I remember reading, there is in Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse in the first chapter where Arjuna asked Krishna to bring the chariot in front of, the army, in the middle of the army. And then once he brings and all that, then Arjuna starts to say that, how can I kill my own kinsman? And the word used there is swajana. How can I kill my own kinsman, right? So he asks. Then in that, if we recollect, Gurujan Prabhu writes that Arjuna mentions swajana, entire, whoever is on the opposite end is also swajana. Then when we think of Prabhupada's perspective, right? Prabhupada considered the entire world to be his swajana. So he brought this very precious science and science of Krishna consciousness to everybody. So we can see how Prabhupada is just completely imbibed what exactly Krishna says. Krishna says, Sarvayonishu Kauntaya Aham Bija Pradapita. So if Krishna is the seed-giving father, that means everybody is a relative. And of course, it's not very easy to perceive it or to see it that way, mainly when a cockroach crawls or a snake in front of us, or I'm taking living entities with their bodies which produce some kind of a disgusting feeling or fearful feeling in us. We don't feel that they are swajana, which is, that's how we feel. But then from Krishna perspective, from Acharya perspective, everybody is swajana. So then if Prabhupada didn't come and do this give out to entire world, I don't know even how many of us would relate to each other, or how many of us would relate to anybody new that either walks into temple or we see in monthly Sankirtan festival. We will not, there's no, usually people cling to their community or cling to their people who know each other, right? But then when we go out in Sankirtan, the spirit is, this is the spirit that Sarvayonishu Kauntaya and Aham Bija Pradapita, Krishna says, and Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada completely took it to the road. It's not in philosophy, it's not in head anymore. He practically manifested this part of it. So this is the first thing that he wants to establish, that everyone belongs to God. Okay, then if everyone belongs to Krishna, everyone is coming from Krishna, then what's going on here? What are we all thinking about even ourselves? What is it that's making us think separately, or that actually separates us from Krishna? That's when this verse comes, where Prabhupada quotes 7.4, which is an amazing verse, actually. 7.5 actually speaking. 7.4 is Bhumirapo Analo Vayu Kammano Buddhirimpancha. That is Ahankara Itirame Bhinna Prakriti Rashna, 8 separated energies. That is 7.4. And 7th chapter, 5th verse is the most amazing verse, which comes right after this, Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada, that is 8 material energies. And then in the 5th itself, Krishna says, but you don't belong there. Because if we see ourselves, we are made, we think, at least, we really, sometimes we just don't know the separation between us and the body, or at least not the subtle body. So we do think that we are made of earth, water, fire, ether. Okay, if someone is a little bit more thoughtful and just not thinking they're the body, but then still one thinks that, one is made of their thoughts, that is mind. One is made of their intelligence. So how intelligent I am determines my success. So mind, intelligence, and then there is false ego of who I am and where I'm born, who's my father and mother, which birth, which country, which nationality, which caste, which this, all kinds of things, right? So to just immediately stop that thought process, Krishna says in 7th chapter, 5th verse, right after this, that apareyam iktasmanyam. So there is Prakriti Viddhime Param. So Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Yayedam I'm not able to quote it properly. Yayedam Nanyate Jagat, I think. So in that verse, Krishna immediately says, oh Arjuna, or us, or living entities who are reading this Bhagavad Gita, you don't belong to this separated energy. You belong to a superior energy, right? So we are not products of material nature. We are actually products of superior nature, superior Prakriti, right? So Prabhupada is bringing this because even though if we see in the verse that there are so many categories of living entities, this, that, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and then animals, those, the whole kinds of range that is given in this verse is amazing. And we don't belong here, meaning we are not this. Prabhupada is clearly putting it out, yes, everyone comes from Krishna. That means if Krishna is spiritual, why are we considering ourselves material? If we come from him, we are spirit, we are not matter. So then that identity is to be given up, or is to be let go. At least in a gross way, we need to let go when we consider ourselves like whatever, Indian or Hindu or this or that, at least in some level we want to let go. And so that we can reach the deeper levels of what all, can be shedded out. Of course, we are not native process people, but we don't want to actively give up the conceptions that we have about ourselves that doesn't match who we are, according to the scripture, according to the creator, according to Krishna's words. It doesn't match who we are. If for example, if we can only take a material example, if our father or mother comes and tells that I say that I'm not let's see, I'm not Shatarupa or something like that. Only mentally deranged person can do that, right? And then the father keeps on telling, no, you are actually Shatarupa. You are the person. If they keep telling us and then I keep disagreeing, it's really like foolish, because the creator knows, right, who I am, because they've seen me from the birth. So that similarly, Krishna knows who we are, and he's saying very clearly. So then it's our role to just take it. That part is coming here, standing out for me. And then when we see, okay, we are from, all living entities are from Krishna. So we are from Krishna. And then we are not the products of material nature. We are products of superior nature. Then if everybody is from Krishna, this question we all asked at some point of life, or we will see people who will ask these questions. How come God is so unjust that someone else is happy, someone is not happy? Someone is with perfect health, someone is not with perfect health. Someone has perfect financial situation, someone else doesn't have. And rich, poor, good, bad, I mean, all these kind of things, right? So then, I mean, we have all studied and heard in Journey of Self-Discovery and Science of Self-Realization as to how, what determines this condition of life? What determines our situation where we are at right now? Except for our own past deeds, nothing else determines the material conditions we are at. Of course, the spiritual conditions we are at also is not determined by our, that's not determined by our past deeds. That is determined just by mercy. But our conditioning that we have, or the situations of life that we are at, that is because of past deeds, right? Either good deeds, bad deeds, or a combination, or a, according to the percentage, either 50-50, 70-30, we all have a combination of situations where we are stuck. And we are very used to the word stuck. And then Prabhupada uses the word prison. Prison, imprisoned. We are embodied, right? Actually, embodied versus where it looks, we are taking the word for very granted. Maybe we should call ourselves imprisoned. So we are imprisoned in this body and the conditions related to this body, according to what we have done before. So now, if you want to upgrade, what kind of upgrade do we want? Do we want to go from, like Prabhupada says, third class prison to first class prison, where we may have air conditioning, and maybe a good mattress, and maybe I don't know what else is needed for luxury in a prison, maybe a chair, or I don't know, so things like that. Or it looks very nice. It looks at least a bit more better than lying on the floor with no climate control and with a lot of mosquitoes, if you have to think, and 10 people in a same cell, same room, or something like that. It looks that the other side is better, but then it's not really better, because we are still under captive. We are still kept in the prison. So then Prabhupada says that one should try to be free from prison life. One more verse comes to my mind, which I'm not able to remember the verse. It's 15th chapter, 7th verse. Mamaiva amsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. I forgot.
Manasasthani indriyani prakristani karshiti.
Yeah. So Krishna very clearly says, even in that verse, that Mamaiva amsa jiva loka, you are actually my parts and parcels. He takes ownership, he takes right. If somebody considers us as theirs, right, not in a possessive spirit, or not in a controlling spirit, but with an affectionate heart, if somebody says, you're mine, how loving it is. And he says, you're mine, you're mine, you're my parts and parcels. But then what are you doing here is because of manashastani indriyani prakritistani kashati. Because of the one has invested one's senses, indriya, and one's mind into this material energy, one is captivated by prakriti, right? One is entangled in this prakriti. There's so many verses like this. Again, Purusha Prakriti Sohi, Bhumte Prakriti Jan Gunan. Even that everywhere, it looks like I only remember the first sentence, but even there, Purusha Prakriti Sohi. What is that is actually, what is that we are impelled to be captivated? The spirit of lording over, spirit of controlling. Even Krishna doesn't control us. Why are we trying to control the material nature? I mean, yeah, philosophically, I feel like it doesn't make any sense. But, it's just point for contemplation. That then another analogy that's given for this is also, if a prisoner who has shackles made of gold, or the cage made of gold, teases the one who doesn't have a cage made of gold, the shackles and cage is made of iron. Hey, you see, I have gold cage, I have gold shackles, and then look at you, you don't even have, you have iron, but does it matter? So then Prabhupada says one should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. And then he establishes here that is the real goal of all types of living entities, all types of living entities. When Prabhupada says this, all types of living, that is a Sankirtan spirit. Why is sharing the ultimate knowledge so important? Why is sharing the ultimate process is so important? Sankirtan is the life of a devotee. Sankirtan in the sense of giving Krishna, when we go out and distribute books, Prabhupada said, what are you going to do by your 10-minute talk or 1 hour preaching? Give them my books. It'll last forever. I mean, we are not underestimating something, but then that's a fact too. That if we really want to establish something in somebody's life, right? We put something in their house permanently, and then start also cultivating. That's the way Krishna enters. That's the way Prabhupada enters. So the spirit of sharing comes when one actually gets convinced, or to the degree of one feels convinced about one's own existence, that I don't belong here. I belong to my acharyas. I belong to the supreme divine couple. Right? I belong to them. I belong to Lord Chaitanya. I don't know why I messed up and just I'm here. If we have that spirit, then we feel like, oh, this leads to this knowledge. We need to just, then every insect we see, we chant. Not like we have realized them, we have seen super soul in their heart. It doesn't even have to be at that level to do some service. Yeah, if we are at that level, great. But then to do service to another living entity, we want to just keep our flame active. And therefore, acharyas repeatedly come into our lives in various ways, especially in the way of, in the way how spiritual master enters. They come repeatedly to just keep our spark from extinguishing, to keep our spark, to keep the blaze, blaze is a big word, to keep the flame a little bit turned on, So going back to the verse, so the list of the living entities here, everybody, O King, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. All of them, I'm just reading the first sentence and the last sentence. All of them according to their past deeds are created by the Supreme Lord. Then the purport, 3 points are covered. 1, establish, convinced, we become convinced by reading that yes, everyone belongs to Krishna, no matter in what form they are at, no matter how they act, or no matter how their backgrounds are, whether externally, internally, what their backgrounds, everybody. That means me too from Krishna. That's the first essence. The second thing is, then why am I here? Why am I here? It's because of my past deeds. So there are 8 separated energies, but I'm not part of them. Even though I'm trapped in it, I'm not part of it. Right? That's the second thing. And the third thing is, well, now that I know that I'm not actually, I don't belong here, But I'm here in this prison of this body, let alone the material world. This body is a prison, right? Our own living conditions is a prison. Sometimes when we see these sentences, we think, oh, this material world is a prison. Yeah, of course. But then how is material world manifesting in our lives is our own conditions of life. Philosophy needs to be taken, personally, not just out in the air or something, right? Sometimes it doesn't help us. It's only, it helps us in probably telling somebody else, but to tell our own self, distilled and seeing that how is this material energy manifested in my life, in my earth, water, fire, and fire, air, ether. What is the problem in this combination, and what am I going through in this combination? What am I going through in this combination of mind, intelligence, and false ego? We are trapped. I mean, not by somebody else. We trapped ourselves. Let's rephrase this. We trapped ourselves. So we are trapped. So then once we understand that, then we want to come out of it. And to come out of it is the spirit of Sankirtan, distribute books to ourselves, and distribute holy name to ourselves, distribute Krishna consciousness to ourselves, through our acharyas. Keep taking, keep receiving and serving, and then also share with others. So perhaps notice how material existence, what's the customized way of what is my personal quota or customized way that I am in material energy, and what is the portion of spiritual energy flowing into my life through spiritual master and the acharyas. Both needs to be seen in order for us to take to that which will relieve us and deliver us. So that's where I will pause here. If anyone has any thoughts, please share. We'll be happy to hear. For another 5 minutes, I guess, because we joined a little later.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisance. Agoshta Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Mataji, I am trying to think and use the same words that you said. Hopefully, I'll make that. So, Mataji, you said due to our past karma, the deeds that we did, we are suffering now, but not spiritual life. Mataji, spiritual life, we continue, right? That will be like Purva Janma Sukriti, and we just continue from there, where we stopped in our previous birth, right?
Yes, you're right. What I meant to say is, it's not by our punya karma that we got spiritual life, either in this life or last life. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 2, says that one receives, how does one execute devotional service? Taste. And how does one get taste? Mercy. Mercy either in this life or last life. It's not about a punya karma. That's what I meant to say, which probably didn't get communicated properly.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I used the wrong, this thing, punya karma. Yeah. You are right.
NOD is right. Nectar of Devotion, bulls on. I mean, it's really like that, it's like on there, that devotee's mercy, whether it is this life or last life.
Yes. Got it, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So it's very easy to think that I am responsible for all good things that happen in my life, but I'm not responsible for all the bad things that happen in my life. It's very easy to think like that. So okay. Any other inspirations or thoughts? Any other inspirations or thoughts? No discussion.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji. That aspect of not only the good but evil also comes from the Lord. Somehow that was very striking for me, and I was contemplating for some time on this Samadarshana principle that Guru Maharaj is talking about in Gita values.
Yeah.
So, at least as we're practicing and hearing, I am realizing for me, trying to see others as parts of Krishna and trying to respect them and be humble, that's easy. But for me, seeing myself also, I mean, though we know, sometimes, it's just like completely disregarding and saying they're doing things that are really detrimental. So I was, appreciating that point that you have brought up very nicely. And in the end also you concluded how we need to, have the same spirit of distributing Bhagavatam and holy name to ourselves. That was very, very beautiful.
Charity begins at home, and our home is us to begin with. Even after us is the persons who are staying in the same house. I mean, really, because
I was thinking for myself, in the name of humility, it's really like, just trashing myself and doing whatever. But
doesn't work.
Yeah, the way you have brought out it was really nice. It's just like my body, mind, everything belongs to Guru and Krishna. So how can I treat that very nicely?
Yeah, and also, like you're saying that, yes, it belongs to them, but I earned it this way. This combination, I earned it, and I want to use it properly right now, this time. Because I didn't use properly last time, I used extravagantly last time, I have this, and now I want to use it in the proper route. That's the point that comes out when you shared. And the other thing when you shared, what came out to me was seeing the guna dosha, both what we have is very important. And seeing that with love is most important. Seeing with some affection to our own real self is very important. If we are not affectionate to our real self and real goal, who else can we expect? Yeah, of course, Vaishnavas are very generous. They'll be affectionate, but then we won't be able to access their affection unless we are affectionate to our real goal and real self. And affection means seeing the person as a whole, with guna and dosha both. So we are not this anyway. Why are we refusing to see ourselves? Sorry, I think you didn't bring this, but I just felt like that.
Yeah, it's very helpful, bringing it out very nicely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I have a comment or an observation to make. When you mentioned the cockroaches and the snakes, I started thinking, the wheels in my mind started spinning. If I'm just reflecting, how even in a family we all start together, everything is love and fair. Things happen, and as we grow up and times change, some of us become cockroaches and some of us become snakes and scorpions. And Mahabharata is a great example for that. And that is what I was wondering. Yes, we are all parts and parcels of Krishna, but that's always a concept that you wake me up in the sleep, I'll get up and I'll narrate all of these things. I'm not the body, I'm the soul, all of that. But the moment stuff starts happening, none of the concepts really matter. So I was wondering, how do you actually bring this knowledge into practice, and how do you internalize this?
I'm not self-realized, but I can share some tips that what I heard. Well, I'm very clear I'm not self-realized. So the impact that I will have depends on what I've heard before. This is the biggest inspiration from, I mean, there's so many inspirations, but this one was very helpful to me. From Vaisheshika Prabhu, he shared an exercise that he did when he first started with distribution on the roads. This can be very relevant to the discussion, but I will also share because we can get something very, very important. I'm sorry if I'm exceeding time. Whoever needs to leave, please don't feel that you can't leave. You feel free. But I just want to wrap up this one. So whenever we have something that we cannot do, for example, like you said, I'm not able to see with equal vision. That cannot be simply imitated. We can't. We try, but we just can't. And we're not at that level, which is totally understandable by Krishna and by ourselves. So he said something that when he first went out for book distribution, he had flashcards. His flashcards, he had 6 of them, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong, but just take the principle, right? So in the flashcards, in the first flashcard, he wrote, because it's very discouraging when you go to book distribution for 8 hours and not even one book goes, and nobody smiles at you. What he wrote in the first card, I went out to book distribution today, or I packed my bags today and stepped out. In the next card, I waved at people. People didn't even care. They didn't wave back. The third card, I waved at people. One person waved back. Fourth card, I waved. People smiled. I showed the book. Nobody took it. Fifth card, I waved. I showed the book. Some people appreciated, but did not take the book. Sixth card, I waved, showed the book. They did take the book. So 6 cards he has. It is a principle of seeing things, seeing, moving towards the goal. That's how I felt, and being detached while we move also. So he kept this and kept in his, right pocket, left pocket, whatever. According to the situation, he kept pulling the card that matches and putting it in the other pocket, which gave him a sense of just service and not just looking for results all the time. It's not really one-to-one proportionate to your question, Prabhu, but something that we are not able to do now on the spot. We can train ourselves to do it at least the next day. Or, see, for example, we all might have noticed some of the negative emotions that we probably had 10 years ago. We are probably, the frequency is less now, or intensity is less now, and it becomes positive. So the principle is taking baby steps towards higher goal. So towards that, we can say that today when a cockroach came at me, I see my face already goes weird because I don't have the conception that that's even a respectable living entity, which is a wrong conception. But yeah, but that's where I am at this point. Today when a cockroach came at me, I just took something and just smashed, right? That's my level. But then next day I realized, my God, that's a living entity, part and parcel of Krishna. That's the biggest success in my life. That next day I realized. I mean, you might be faster, but I'm just saying. So then gradually we promote ourselves. Within 2 hours, we realize our inability to see equally in equanimity. Then it will reduce. Within 30 minutes, we realized. Then it will reduce. On the spot, I realized, but I still couldn't control myself, my disgust, right? So then I kept a safe distance, which is normal. So then finally, if at all Krishna so desires and we become really like Haridas Thakur or someone, where we sit and chant and the python just crawls away from the cave, that's a altogether different story. But we don't want to stop ourselves thinking that we don't have access to that consciousness. We have access, but we are just not qualified yet. So let us access to the level of our qualification and not lose the goal of really seeing them. So this time, for example, I'll share that when we went to Vrindavan, the first hotel that we stayed, that the booked by Yatras were great. And after that, I stayed somewhere else. And Vrindavan was still booked. So I got a hotel where there was a lot of cockroaches. Krishna's mercy, they were small ones. They were not big ones, which I really dread. If they fly, I cannot handle them. These ones only crawl. So when I take shower every time, there are like 10 of them crawling, small ones. I became so fearful, not because of the cockroach, because they are Dhamvasis. Because Prabhupada was once very upset that somebody cleaned his room and removed all the spider webs. And he said, we come here for a visit and we remove all the Dhamvasis and throw them out. So it stuck to me. But I also cannot stand there and then shower when these guys are crawling, because it's very hard. All I could do is take a broom, pick one by one and put them out and then shower, which was a big exercise for me. I didn't know what else to do, but I'm just sharing because by our Acharya's mercy, at least that much awareness is there that, oh, these guys are Dhamvasis. I wouldn't have ever had that if Prabhupada didn't say it. So to practice anything, we must split that big goal into baby steps. Is, most of the things we have to split it into baby steps, keeping the goal always in perspective. That way we can move towards it and not get stuck or not get a philosophical overwhelm or thought that this is practical only for Prahlad Maharaj and Haridas Thakur. It's not for me. It is for us. They want to give it to us. So we want to see it, how to make small steps towards the right direction. I don't know if it all made any sense, but I think I'll stop here anyway. Sorry about my roundabout.
No, Mataji. I think you explained it very well. Thank you so much. I don't know, we are beyond the time. I had one more question. If it's okay with you, I'll ask. Otherwise, I will.
You know what? I am okay, but everybody, whoever needs to leave, please don't mind. We usually end on time, but today seems to be a day, so sorry about it. Lakshman, sorry.
Before I go, Mataji, sorry to interrupt. I just want to thank you very much for sharing how you dealt with the cockroaches in the shower. Because I also struggle. Ants come into my shower and then I have to pick them out, so I understand the dilemma that it's the same for all of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for bearing with me. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I have to leave now. I have to leave. Yeah. Very nice class.
So, this is not directly related to the class, Mata, but something came up in yesterday's, Bhagavatam reading group, and we always read about, going to the holy dham, taking a dip in the holy dham washes away all your sins. And now the question that came up yesterday was, how is it possible, other than giving Shastra, examples, how is it possible that we do so much and we don't, by karma theory, we are supposed to suffer each one of them? How is it that the river, Ganga or Yamuna, they are empowered to take away our sins?
Yeah.
So
immediate thought that comes, I think we have Gopal Hari Prabhu also here, but Prabhu, anytime you want to talk, please unmute. I'm just going like a kid here. But immediate thought that comes is two things comes to my mind analogy wise. One is when we turn the switch turned off for a ceiling fan, okay, not like this other fans which you turn off and it turns off immediately, but the fan with the wings. when we turn it off, it takes time to stop. But has a karma stopped or not stopped yet? The question is, have it turned off or not turned off?
The karmas are not turned off, Mataji.
we have turned off the capacity to do, or even what has to we turned off the manifest, what has to manifest. But then what we are having, it will stop at some point. The fan will stop, but we have turned it off. You see, I mean, that's one analogy comes, because we do need to, we can't, that's one. The second one that comes to my thoughts is, Prabhupada says, for a devotee who's following the process of devotional service that is given with all possible Krishna consciousness that we have in our hearts. Somebody got a paper cut when printing, and he said your hand had to be gone, you're saved. There is a proverb in Tamil that your head needed to be cut off. It went off just cutting your turban. So it's like the point here is, yes, the karma is actually stopped. It's washing away our sins, definitely. But it doesn't mean we don't take responsibility for it stops our sinful inclination, and bija and all these things are getting stopped. But what is the prarabdha karma? That will stop only at the end of this life. Meaning, the body that I have is prarabdha karma. Does it mean today I will just give up my body? I mean, yeah, maybe if the consciousness is there, that might happen. Krishna may take away the prarabdha karma also. But then the prarabdha is something that is manifest. We go through it at a very minute scale than what we actually have to be given. Yeah, people who have a doubting heart may feel that, oh, this is all philosophy, you're just convincing yourself and stuff like that. But certain spiritual sciences need to be experienced. You cannot be just convinced, is my thought. I want to ask 5 more minutes. I mean, it's really overextending the time, but then Gopalari Prabhu, would you like to just help us if you are free, if you are available to talk? If you're not, I totally understand. You're out of town.
Mata, whatever you said,
Yeah.
I spoke on similar lines,
Mm.
but the thing is, if these are practicing devotees, what we said will make sense. But when
Yeah.
they're not practicing devotees, like the person who was
Yes.
asking
Yes.
was, she's trying to come there, and actually she's on the path, and that is where the question came up. And how can it, like, you do so much, and how can it just being taken away like that without any, and that is where I think the whole thing,
Yeah.
and I couldn't give a convincing answer because I don't know the answer.
Yeah. At that place, I would just hear their heart out. Maybe they're going through something that is making them feel like that. And then the second thing is, I would say that, something that's in spiritual, there are deeper and deeper levels of consciousness. When we want to access the deeper levels of consciousness, then right now we're not having the access, doesn't mean it's not there. So don't lose your heart and just keep chanting. Because I don't know also that we can't really change somebody's thought process by our power. Because it is one's own experience that they change. Or by an acharya's intervention it changes. But still one's own experience or one's own investment is needed. So, we can only give the facts from the Shastras. We cannot really, at least I feel that we cannot really go in and alter their thought process. But let's just read more and more and try to understand this. Why is this? Maybe we can validate their concern. Yeah, I know this is really amazing. I don't know, I can't understand this either. So they feel, most of us don't understand this in a logistic way, in a logical way, not logistic, logical way. We don't. Which is, it's true. We cannot really logically understand this.
Yeah. I actually gave the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking away the sins of, Jagai and Madai. And then later in the night, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to take a bath in the river, in the moonlight, the close devotees of the Lord can see that the water has become blackish.
Yeah.
I mentioned that, but
It's okay.
if you're really wanting to answer this rationally, I don't know what the rational answer is. I think that is why the difficulty is. But
only
from
rational.
faith,
Only rational answer is Krishna is supremely pure.
Yes.
So he can purify the unpure. Or the sun, which is really like the sun's heat, can it not dry up the urine or like a vomitus that is there? When somebody vomits or passes water, can the sunlight cannot dry it up with the heat? So Krishna has the power. We don't want to doubt Krishna's power or Mother Ganges' power or Yamuna Devi's power or Vrindavan Das Braj's power. We don't want to doubt that. We may have questions about, how, that's a different story. But then we don't want to have that how interfering our capacity to appreciate the purity of such sources. You see, I think that's the only route I might take them into. I understand the question mark on my head as well, but then that doesn't interfere with my faith.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Sorry, Prabhu. Yeah.
No, that's okay, Mataji. I think this takes me at least in a direction. Probably, we need more clarification, but I get the answer, Mataji.
Yeah, nothing. We don't want to. Our questions can remain in a wonder. Wow, really, is this possible? Wow, that questioning is that amazing question is okay, but when we question, how is it really possible? Then it's not possible for me or you, but it's possible for empowered living entities like Mother Ganges.
Yeah. So my thoughts actually went directly to NOI, where actually later in NOI it is stated that even these rivers, sacred rivers, when pure devotees go and take bath, they actually cleanse the rivers as well as the dam. That is, and so it takes one level higher. So
yeah.
Sure. Okay, Mataji, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. It's we are past 30 minutes, so we will pause here and we will resume on Monday. Tomorrow is Tholas Rampal Swami's Vyasa Puja celebrations. Tomorrow and day after. Please invite anyone who you all know. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam